Hi, this is Kelly with Nonprofit Resource Collaborative. Today we're going to talk about overtime and whether or not you need to pay it. This isn't the most exciting subject, but it is important to get it right. Right now there's a lot of activity by the Department of Labor going after organizations that do not have workers properly classified, whether that be independent contractor versus employee, or a salaried employee, exempt employee versus an hourly employee. First, let's clear up two myths that are very common. Number one, I don't have to pay overtime because my employee is salaried. Being salaried alone does not make your employee exempt. There is a two-part test to determine whether or not your employee is exempt from overtime. Number one is the salaries test. The person needs to earn at least $455 per week. Test number two is a duties test. A person has to have certain types of responsibilities in order to be exempt from overtime, and we're going to cover those in a minute. The other myth that comes up a lot is, it's okay, I don't have to pay overtime because my employee and I agreed that they'd be salaried. The employee wants to be salaried, they don't want to mess with time cards, we don't want to mess with time cards. In the real world of work, that's great. Most of us don't want to mess with time cards. But this is not an acceptable reason. A group of employees come forward and make a claim for 3 years' worth of back wages because they believe they were misclassified. Even though their offer letters were clearly salaried positions, they're saying, no, this was hourly. So you need to get into an audit and figure these things out. Okay, so those are the two myths. How do you figure out if you have staff who are or are not exempt from overtime? Well, there's 5 main areas where someone can be exempt. The first exemption is executive. So this is typically your CEO, your president, your executive director, your department managers, the C-suite. Anyone involved in running the business. So they're working on the business, not in the business. So executive is the first one. If you have first-line supervisors, they may or may not be exempt. It really depends on the scope of their role. Number 2, administrative. This is a harder one to understand, but these are people who do primarily office work, who are focused on what are called matters of significance. So we have to figure out what is significant. Again, ordering lunches, necessary but not significant. They need to have some major responsibility. They have to exercise discretion and judgment regularly as part of their duties. The third type of exemption is professionals. So professionals are people who have an advanced degree, advanced learning, and that's required in order to do their job. So you may think of an attorney, or an accountant, or a human resources person, or a marketer. The vast majority of those require an advanced degree in order to perform the job. If that's the case, the professional exemption may apply. Another exemption is the creative professional. This is where a lot of those marketing positions come in. It's really important to be careful, though, that you look at the specific duties of the job. If you have a graphic designer who's simply implementing changes that they are instructed to do, they are probably not exempt. You probably need to pay them overtime. They need to really be involved in the ideation and the innovation and the creative process in order to qualify under that exemption. Okay, another exemption, computer professionals. This one gets a little bit trickier because they are the only type of position where you can pay them an hourly wage and they can still be exempt. That's because lots of people have long-term IT contracts working with one client for 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. So what the rules are for computer professionals is they have to be paid a minimum of $27.63 per hour. And they have to be involved in higher level IT activities, design, programming, that type of thing. Your typical help desk type of person or hardware software person is not going to be exempt. It needs to be the higher level programming. And then finally, the last type of exemption is outside sales. The key word here is outside. They need to be located primarily outside of your building. They need to be calling on customers. They need to be selling. A lot of people try to use this exemption for customer service people who are providing customer service, responding to inquiries, typing up quotes. Doesn't work. Inside sales doesn't work. Customer service doesn't work. They need to be outside sales, focused on selling outside the building. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit so you can make better decisions and more effective decisions about classifying your employees. If you ever want help, feel free to contact NPRC. Thanks so much. Not good.